Definitely have some spoilers in the video. So if you haven't watched the movie Sinners, I advise that you don't watch my video. Keep it in your favorite. I wanted to react to some things that I've read and that I've watched on TikTok. The woman behind me is, Avi Stansfield, but she plays the role of Mary in the Sinners movie. In the movie, okay, we're going to talk about race. Okay, I've seen a lot of videos made by Black women, Black American women who are not mixed, who are once again talking about Mary being a Black woman. So Ailey Stansfield, she has the same racial background on and off screen. So she's had a grandfather that was biracial or something like that. And in the movie, at some point, you have Preacher Boy who asks her, "What are you? Who are you? What are you?" And she says, "I'm a human being." And then she answers back, she said, "No, I understand what you mean." And she said, "My maternal grandfather was biracial," which made her mother a quadroon, so a woman who was 1/4 Black. So Mary was actually an octoroon, 1/8 Black. The thing is, at the time, the story sets in Mississippi and in the South. And, at the time, the one drop rule was, and it's still present, but at the time, there was a whole nother level. That was the USS McAllister Black Mirror kind of level of craziness, okay? You had 1% of African ancestry, you were Black. So she passed for what she already was, a white woman. And I don't understand how Black American women today, this is a movie about Black American people, Black Americans. And I don't understand how Black American women can make TikTok videos to defend the character of Mary, saying that she was a Black woman. This is not being light skinned, this is white. This is white. It's funny because if a Black person is 1/8 European, like Sukiana is actually 1/8 European. And if she describes herself as a mixed race person, you're going to be laughing at her because she's dark skinned and she has African features. But when it's the other way around, you want to force up the runes and exotica runes and mixed white people and whatever to be Black because you want Blackness to be whiteness at the same time. And I found her character not to be that interesting, to be honest. I thought that Annie was better. I was more interested in watching Black characters to be. And Mary, I said I'm going to spoil it. Mary was the one at some point. She was talking to the twin brother of Michael B. Jordan, and she said, so you don't make enough money at the clubhouse or whatever. So let me talk to these white vampires because they're gonna give me more information. They're gonna think I'm white. And so she goes out, and eventually they jump her, and she gets she turns into a vampire. And the story was the vampires cannot come into where you at unless you let them in. So the Black community let the danger in. A woman who already had problems with the issue of passing. She was a white woman with African ancestry who married white, passed as white. That's what she was. And she wanted to fit in so bad with the Blacks that she thought that she could speak to the Irish vampires, and she brought back danger. I don't even understand why this character was in the movie because she wasn't that interesting, to be honest. One person said in one comments that I've read on YouTube, and I found this comment to be very kind of deep. One person said that Michael B. Jordan's Red Twin, so the red version of his Stack, chose a white woman, was seduced by a white woman, and that's the reason why he lost his soul. And the other version of Michael B. Jordan, that was blue, chose a Black American woman who was also into hoodoo, African spirituality, and she managed to save his soul. What do you think about that? So, yeah. to be honest, stop claiming things that cannot be claimed. And like I said in my other videos last year, at some point you need to let people go. When you are 1/8% African, you're not a black person. You're a white person who happens to have some African ancestry. You need to let people go. Come on, stop. So
All right, Shalom, Shalom. First off, give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakarkadash, giving double honors to the apostles and the elders of GMS. Salutes and honors to the elect, all the brothers across the four corners who are enduring in truth and sincerity, all the men and the women who follow. This is the brother Kratazah from the GMS Nebraska camp, coming back at you with another lesson through the spirit and power of Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai. This lesson being entitled, Hey, get your ass down. Slakia. Let me put him up. Slakia. Come on, go to the kennel. To the kennel. Slakia, Kim. This lesson is being entitled Tears and Wheat. It's a sinner spoiler alert. All right. She also gave the alert, and we're just gonna dive into the spirit and power of Yahweh Shem Shai. It's a lot that she said in this 5-6 minutes, but you know if you've seen the movie, if you're watching this video, you probably seen the movie. I'm just gonna assume that you've seen the movie. Now, this character that's in the movie, Mary, she's obviously a black woman. Anybody with spiritual eyes can see that Mary was a black woman. All right. But as a matter of fact, let's get that real quick. How does it go? Yeah. 1 Corinthians 2:14, it says, But the natural man receiveth not the things of the Spirit of the Most High, for they are foolishness unto him, neither can he know them, because they are spiritually discerned. All right. The black woman doesn't have spiritual discernment. All right. She's looking at her, oh, you're white. Matter of fact, it's this, Omaha, I tell you guys, Omaha is small. All right. And, I have a Facebook friend, and she's biracial. Her dad is so-called black, her mom is white, and she's really light skinned and she has good hair. But when you hear her talk one time, you can this is an end up, But women like this, dark skinned women, just black women in general, they get jealous of her, and they just, oh, you're white girl, white girl, white girl, just, and that's what she's doing. She's mad because she looks good and she don't, in my opinion. Annie was a much more interesting character, and Annie was sitting here doing voodoo the whole fucking film, worshiping another god, And like I said, it's a lot that she said in here, and Lord's will, I can get to all of it. We may have to just play the video back so I can hit point for point. But at the end of the day, I know she was talking about. Now they kind of did mess it up in the film by saying it was her maternal, her on her mom's side grandfather who was, mixed or biracial, when it goes to the father's line. But if you watch the movie, which like I said, I'm assuming you watched the movie, when Mary opened her mouth, you can tell Mary had some sauce. Mary had a little flavor to her, And I don't know. They said that the real actor has I know the real actor. Her last name is Stansfield. I believe she's a so-called Jew, but she could be an Israelite just based off of you know her spirit. I can only tell from the movie. The character that she was portraying in the movie was definitely an Israelite, though. You know, and you have to have that spiritual discernment to tell that. So all right, so let's get some scripture. This is Numbers 1:1, 1:2. It says, take ye the sum of all the congregation of the children of Israel after their families, by the house of their fathers, by the numbers of their names, every male by their poles, right? By the house of their fathers. All right, so she said she's talking about a quadroon or an octodroon or octoroon, whatever, 1/4 or 1/8. It doesn't matter if it was your father's father, 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 father. You're an Israelite. You are who your father is. All right. So let's and this is the example I love to give. Um, Blake Griffin's parents. Now, when you look at Blake Griffin's parents, you see this guy, Tommy Griffin, right? Dark skinned guy gets with a woman with red hair. Now they got a light skinned guy, with red hair. Somehow that maybe this guy doesn't grow hair, and she got the red hair gene. No, just playing. But and look at his brother. Same deal. He has the red hair as well. He inherited his father's, you know, lack of hair. Even oh shit. See, I'm joking around. That's why. Let me stop joking. All right, so we see how it passes down. So you got him, and then this is your first generation. So what's he? A half droon using these big words. So let's look at Blake Griffin's children. Because he got with a white woman. So when a person with a so-called black father and a white mother get together with a person with a white mother and a white father, you get even a light skinned baby, a white skinned baby. Look, this boy looks straight up white, but you can kind of tell he kind of looked like a Jake, you know. Let me see. It's a good picture. Look at him. You can kind of tell like he would get dark in the summer kind of deal, but he got the white boy hair. You can tell. You can tell. Same deal with Blake Griffin's brother. Got with a white woman. Look at these two kids. Look like a straight up white baby. This one looked like a little bit more melanin, but this one looks like a straight white baby. But they're Israelites. Now imagine. Now these are girls, but if these were boys like him, or this guy right here, imagine he gets with a white woman. That baby's gonna come out white. He has a son, and then that son gets with a white woman. That baby's gonna come out white, and then that son gets with a white woman. That baby's gonna come out white. But the whole time, it in looks only is it white, because the spirit is gonna go all the way back to the grandfather, right? And which the grandfather is a so-called Negro. That's how the spirit works. All right. I don't care if you're a 1/8, you're a white person. You just don't have the spirit on you. As soon as that woman opened up her mouth, you knew that she was, and that's why he asked the question. That's why Preacher Boy asked the question. What are you? Like, cause when you open your mouth, you seem like you Jake. But when I look at you, you could pass for white. That's what got people shook. All right. So this is Matthew 13:25. It says, let me see if I can back this up a little bit. 24 says, another parable he put forth unto them, saying, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which sowed good seed in his field. But while the men slept, his enemy came and sowed tares among the wheat and went his way. All right, now this field is, the nation of Israel. And, while we were in captivity, i.e., slept, the enemy came in and sowed tares among the wheats. So they came in, they had children by our women. So, but when the blade was sprung up and brought forth fruit, then appeared the tares also. So, over the course of time, you have a mixed multitude. Some who, by their father's ancestry, goes back to Israel, and some by whom their fathers go back to the other nations. Okay? So the servant of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, did thou not sow good seed in thy field? From whence have it tares? And he said unto them, An enemy have done this. The servant said unto him, Wilt thou then that we go and gather them up? Should we go pluck up all these bad weeds? But he said, Nay, lest ye gather up the tares. Fuck it. Nay, while ye gather up the tares, ye also root up the wheat with them. So if you try to destroy all the people who you think, might not be Jake, you might end up destroying the actual Jake along the way. It says, let them both grow up together until the harvest. And then, and at the time of the harvest, I will say to the reapers, gather ye together the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather ye the wheat into my barn. So the angels are going to be able to separate who's who, because you got a lot of chocolate-covered Edomites walking around here. All right, and guess what? Adversely, you got a lot of white chocolate-covered Israelites. Like, let's go over the list. Let's see. Al Pacino. You can't tell me Al Pacino ain't Jade. I know I spelled it wrong. Y'all bear with me. Y'all can't. He played a Cuban. You had an Italian play a Cuban. All right. But Tony Montana was one of the most infamous characters of all time in Scarface. All right. What's his name? John Travolta. In Grease, that boy was dancing his ass off. Ain't no white boy dancing like that. Yeah, blue eyes and everything. I said it. There's an Israelite that you're looking at. I'll give you another one. Yeah, Jason Williams. That's his name. Jason Williams. Anybody look at Jason Williams' highlight reel, and you know that this is a Jake. Look, just look at that. There's 3 defenders around him. Who the fuck is he throwing the ball to? You don't know. I don't know. Somebody over there. Somebody over that way. That's a crazy picture. And he does this. That's not just one picture. He does this. He does this. He does this. All right. That's an Israelite. Just based off the swag, based off, matter of fact, we got that, don't we? Sirach 19:29. A man may be known by his look, and one that hath understanding by his countenance when thou meetest him. Hey, look say 1,000 words. You look at her, you see her mannerisms, you hear her talk, and you know she Jade. 1 John 4:1. Beloved, believe not every spirit, but try the spirit whether they are of the Most High, because many false prophets are going out into the world. So you got to try the spirit by the spirit. You have to have a conversation and know and talk to these people. All right. You can't just say everybody who's white is an Edomite. Somebody walk up to you at the camp, you just can't condemn them because you believe that they're an Edomite because they could be a Jake. According to James 1:1, it says, James, a servant of the Most High and of the Lord Yahushua HaMashiach, to the 12 tribes which are scattered abroad, greetings. We were scattered into the nations. All right, let's get Acts. So like chapter 3, might be chapter 2. Chapter 2. Kind. So this is let me see. It's a good place. I'll just start at the top. On the day of Pentecost, Acts 2:1, it says, and when the day of Pentecost was fully come, they were all with one accord in one place. And suddenly there came a sound from heaven as of a rushing mighty wind, and it filled all the house where they were sitting. And there appeared unto them cloven tongue, like as a fire, and it sat upon each of them. And they were all filled with the Holy Spirit, and began to speak with other tongues, as the Spirit gave them utterance. And there were dwelling at Jerusalem Jews, devout men out of every nation under heaven. Why? Because Jake was scattered. Jake was in the various places around the the Rome in these times, the Roman kingdom, the Greeks. We were heavy in Egypt. We had communities all up in Alexandria, Egypt, and the other countries in Egypt. In Libya, we had communities of Jake in these places, not just like a scattered Jake here, a scattered Jake there. Yeah, you had that, but you had Israelite communities in these other places. All right, it says, verse 6, it says, now when this was noise abroad, the multitude came together and were confounded, because that every man heard them speak in his own language. So they weren't doing none of that shit that you hear in the churches, that where you don't know what the fuck you're saying. That's not speaking in tongues. Speaking in tongues is me speaking English and you speaking Spanish. And when I speak, you hear it in Spanish. And when you speak your Spanish, I hear it in English. Okay? That's what was going on. A true miracle. All right? Not none of this BS that they try to sell you in these churches. All right? So, verse 7, it says, and they were all amazed and marveled, saying one unto another, behold, are not all these which speak Galileans? How hear we every man in our own language where we were born? And they were known as Galileans, which they were unlearned men. So they were trying to figure out how do these niggas who never went to church, these lowly niggas, how they speaking, these languages that we speak coming from other countries. What other countries? What other places? Verse 9, Parthians and Medes and Elamites and dwellers in Mesopotamia and in Judea and Cappadocia and Pontus and Asia, all around where's modern day Turkey. And the Elamites, that's modern day Iran, going towards India. Mesopotamia is Iraq. Phrygia and Pamphylia, I fucked that up, in Egypt and parts of Libya and about Cyrene and strangers in Rome, Jews and proselytes, Cretes and Arabians, we do hear them speak in our own tongue the marvelous works of the Most High. Right? So we were in all these different places. And what do you think we were doing in these places? We were multiplying. Because, yeah, we did have communities in these places, but we were taking their women too. You see how Jake is today. Jake always been like that. That's why the relationship between Mary and I believe it was Stack, the red twin, was so fervent. Not only because it was, number one, she's an Israelite, okay, but when you look at her, she appears to be a white woman, and That's why Stack had to put her away for her sake, because they were in the deep south in Mississippi. All right, and in Mississippi, you know, you don't whistle at a white woman, you don't holler at a white woman like that. So both their lives could have been in danger. That's why he put her away, because he really did have feelings for her. All right. Yeah, well, so we get Revelations chapter 7, and when you start at I'll start at 7:4. It says, "And I heard the number of them which were sealed, and they were sealed 144,000, all of the 12 tribes of Israel." Right? Then when you read down, you named the 12 tribes and 12,000 in each tribe. Verse 9, it says, "After this I beheld, and lo, a great multitude, which no man could number, of all nations and kindreds and people and tongues." Right? And this isn't speaking about actual heathen, white people and East Indians and Arabs and Hamites, and Japheth. It's not speaking about that. All right, these are speaking about the people who were scattered abroad, right, scattered across the four winds, all right, who are actual Israelites by the blood. All right, this father was an Israelite. All right, it says they stood before the throne and before the Lamb, clothed in white robes, and palms in their hands. Right. So this is speaking about, hey, I'll just read it. "And cried with a loud voice, saying, Salvation to our power, which sitteth upon the throne, and unto the Lamb." So this is, salvation. The multitude being saved from out of the tribulation. So let me see. Is there anything else I need to get? I think that's all the scriptures I had. Yeah, so that's really it. Maybe I didn't get to all of her points, but you get the point after listening to this. So with that being said, we give all praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahushai, by Hashem, Rakar, giving double honors to the apostles and the elders of GMS. Salutes and honors to the elect, all the brothers across the four corners who are enduring in truth and sincerity, of the men and the women who follow. Shalom.